to share my live rig, how I got started out. I started out with a Kaoss pad, cool little looping machine, but due to its limitations, I needed two of them. But two of them meant twice the power supplies, twice the amount of cables, a MIDI splitter to hook it up to my foot pedal. So to avoid complications and to keep things easy, I put it all into this enclosure, this one box. It kept it safe, and the best part was that with one switch, the thing would turn on, everything would work. Around the same time, I joined a psychedelic rock band, and I used to take all this gear. As you can see in this picture, it was way too much stuff, but it took me a while to figure out that this was just torturing myself. So fast forward in time, I was no longer with any bands, I just did my solo project. As you can see, I had 3 Kaoss pads, a mixer, a synthesizer, a drum machine. I put it all into this wooden box. And still to keep the same philosophy, one switch turned it all on. No plugging in cables, and definitely avoiding the cable mess. As you can see underneath, it was madness, but it worked. I took this box all kinds of places, did videos, traveled the country. But once I went in the airplane, I realized that shit wasn't gonna work. Because after the first time I arrived in Holland at the IBE, I had 2 massive cracks in the box. So this man redesigned the whole thing again. Cutting up wood, pushing the boundaries of what I'd done before. I now made an enclosure that was smaller but could expand. So I had 2 little fold-out tables that could sit on the side. This equipment worked great. I traveled the world again, went all kinds of places, did great gigs. But over time, you guessed it, it didn't work out for me no longer. See, the problem was, it was still very heavy. It was about 32 kilos just to transport this whole unit. And also, I was getting a lot of hum noise from all the crazy wiring. So eventually I scrapped it and started over. This time I wanted to do everything inside of the laptop to avoid the hardware machinery that was so heavy and broke down over time. I still wanted to keep my synthesizer, but it took up a lot of space and I didn't really see how it was gonna work. So for now I just had a MIDI keyboard and my few controllers. I went about and made a box, made it from scratch with wood, gluing all that stuff and all the stuff that should be fitted in like the USB hub. I made sure that it all was in there, pretty tight and pretty snug. And this time, it wasn't as fast as it used to be, but I definitely had equipment that was a lot lighter and a lot smaller. But another problem I encountered was that the keyboard I bought was too big to fit into any normal suitcase. I tried to look for the biggest suitcase possible, but it still wouldn't fit. And I didn't want to walk around with some separate keyboard suitcase. So I decided to take the plastic off, cut it in half, and build my own wooden enclosure. As you can see here, the panel that was on the side was now above it, and that way it was the same form factor as the rest of the equipment. Now this setup worked, I enjoyed it a lot, went all over the place, even to South America, which was amazing. But then I realized that there was a lot of empty space inside of the wooden enclosure. And I thought, if I would do the same thing I did to my keyboard to the synthesizer, I was like, fuck it, and I started to take the thing apart. Now this was something I definitely had not done before, and to be honest was quite scary to me. Because, you know, not knowing much about electronics, if I fuck it up, I would be left without a synthesizer. But once I made up my mind, there was no way back, and I started taking everything apart. I put all the elements down on the floor and started figuring out how I was going to fit everything into one unit instead of having 2 separate boxes. Now the scary part was opening the synth. Like I said, I hesitated, but I went for it. Cut the thing apart. Now there was no way back. To be honest, there were a lot of moments where I got stuck on problems and got pretty stressed. But I kept going, kept pushing, kept trying to do what I hadn't done before, and bit by bit the actual thing came together. After having my synthesizer laying on the side, collecting dust, doing nothing for about 2 years, I got to say, I'm glad I did it. The Microkorg synth has great sound, and one of its strongest points in my opinion is that you can select the sounds really fast with the 2 big knobs. There's nothing else out there that can beat it. So here you go, the final result. Let's see how long this one sticks with me.